started in just a moment here. I'm going to start just with a little song for us to sort of take a moment and think of Carmen. Now would be a great time if you need to, just to make sure that your cell phone is off or in silent or vibrate. There is a little box of Kleenex up here. I'm not sure if anyone might want it or expects to need it, but feel free to kind of pass it around if needed. It's just here at the front. We'll get started in a moment.
Feeling small when tears are in your eyes, I'll dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down.
Now I'm standing behind this with my hands here so that you can't see how much I'm shaking. And I don't normally get upset at these kinds of things, but Carmen and Les's story has really touched me. My name is Michelin. I am honored to be here today as a celebrant. I want to just thank everyone for being here today to support Les and to be here to honor Carmen and show how important she was in this world. You may not know, or you may know, that today is actually Les and Carmen's wedding anniversary, 28 years. So we'll get started. It is an important day when we gather together to honor a life and mourn a death. We gather because it's what people do. Since the beginning of time, it has been part of the human connection to come together for these significant events, birth and life and death. Time stands still as we take a moment to acknowledge that someone has touched our lives, left an imprint on our hearts, and that our souls are eternally changed. Carmen Blais-Wilson left this life on July 17th with her loving husband by her side. Although it's difficult for those who loved her to continue on, we can take comfort knowing that Carmen has become one with something much greater, big life. As a deeply spiritual woman, Carmen had a special connection to her God, which she coined as Big Life. She prayed to Big Life often, and of course, Big Life often replied. Les tells me of the time that they were getting ready to go to West Edmonton Mall, And Carmen got in the car and bowed her head briefly at the steering wheel. Les asked what she was doing. Praying, she said. For what? Les asked. And Carmen replied, a good parking spot. And you bet your bottom dollar Big Life delivered. Carmen's spiritual journey took her from darkness to light and eventually led her straight into the arms of the love of her life. If you haven't heard the story of how Carmen and Les met, I highly recommend that you ask Les to recount it for you. He's going to tell you that Carmen told it better, but I don't think he's giving himself enough credit. Either way, at nearly 60 years old, it takes a great deal of courage to go on a blind date. And fortunately for Carmen and Les, they were both at a time in their lives where they weren't afraid to try. They were introduced by mutual friends who had been helping each of them with some life coaching. It seemed at first maybe they were looking for different things. Les searching for someone he could talk to and share his therapeutic process. Carmen was searching for a mate. So connected with the spiritual world, Carmen wrote a letter to the universe to describe the kind of man that she was looking for. And on a cold December night in Edmonton, when Les arrived at her doorstep for a birthday date, there he was, just as she had described. Carmen was an honest, authentic person. She wasn't afraid to call things how she saw them, to stand up for herself and for others, and to go bravely after the life that she wanted. This authenticity is what brought Les to the quick conclusion on his drive back home to BC from that very blind date. I'm going to marry this woman. And he did. And today marks their 28th wedding anniversary, so please give a hearty toast to Les and Carmen. They say that in marriage, you stand close with your partner on good days and even closer on bad days. I have no doubt in my mind that Les and Carmen did just that, and it carried them through for nearly 30 years. Now, you've all heard a lot from me, and as much as I enjoy honoring Carmen in this way, what I would really love is to hear from you, her friends and family and loved ones. I know Les has a few things that he would like to read and share, so I'll invite him to come on up first. No pressure.
I have a couple of cards I want to share. They're from my nieces, one that lives in Brandon, Manitoba, and one in Quebec City. They were condolence cards, and the one from Daunsey in Brandon, Manitoba said, one good person can touch more hearts than you'll ever know. Celebrating the lasting legacy of someone who meant so much and wishing you comfort today. Dear Uncle Les, this is a loving memory. This is in loving memory and celebration of life well lived of Aunt Carmy. She gave her a nickname, called her Carmy. Touching hearts was her mission, and she did this with her wonderful smile, wisdom, and sense of humor. Her ability to make us laugh was a gift, as was her positive attitude. Our loss to be sure, but heaven's gain. And Uncle Les, you go forward, focus on the laughter that is to come. Aunt Carmen is laughing now as she is full of joy and peace of big life. And that's from, her name is Daunsey, and then she has a Belle. Stan is my brother, her father, and Belle is her mother, and Norm is her husband. And Belle, Stan, and Norm are all in a home in Brandon, and she's got a lot of looking after there to do. The other card is from my niece in Quebec City in Montreal. What a beautiful difference one single life made with deepest sympathy. With loving memories of our darling Carmen, what a blessing she was in our lives. She will be sorely missed, but lovingly remembered. I hope you find it comforting. And these are nieces, so I wanted to share because they couldn't be here today. And it shows you how she was loved and appreciated and welcomed in the family too. We all loved her. And the other night, I was going through my desk and I found a card. It's an old birthday card. It's the 63rd birthday, which is what, 25 years ago. And I'd like to share it with you. My dearest loving husband, since you cried about not having a card for me, I'll give you the only one I have, telling you that your 63rd will be granting your wish of peace of mind, heart and soul, and serenity, which you richly deserve. Big life is with you. Big life loves you. I am with you. I love you. Now be with yourself. Love yourself. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. All my love, Carmen. She thought I was a good writer, but I could never write anything as eloquent and poignant as that. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you.
Is there anyone else who wanted to share a word or a story? Come on up.
That was good.
Thank you, thank you.
See if I can carry mine out. This was a piece of a puzzle. Carmen loved doing puzzles. My husband loved stealing pieces of the puzzles when they were nearly done. And one time I recall we were a long ways away on a trip, and we sent the letter back with a piece of puzzle in it. Now this one I found when I was going through some of my things. So Carmen, I'm so glad you were a piece of puzzle in the puzzle of our big lives.
And Marvin is the lady that sent all these cards. There was one that pretty much every week. Carmen was in the hospital for 7 months. And everyone has a poem. And it was just a wonderful.
Not poems I wrote, but poems that I collected
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
Yes.
And I'd take them up and I'd read them to Carmen, and it gave her a lift every time. So
Thank
thanks,
you.
Margaret, thank you.
Lee was good at stealing pieces.
Hello, everyone. None of your faces am I familiar with. I am Gary's husband. Gary is Uncle Les's nephew. And I met Aunt Carmen a few years ago in Kelowna, where we lived at the time. And I knew right away she was a woman of force. I knew that I loved her right away. She had this fabulous, strong personality. She had this crazy sense of humor. And it was funny because the time that I met her, we were talking about pictures, and she really loved my photography, and she'd look at my phone and stuff, and I'd say, and we talked about technology. Well, I was trying to tell her something, and she's like, oh no, I can get that. I know that stuff, you know. And I really remember the impact she had immediately on me in first glance. And then I only had a few times that I had opportunity to see her again. And then Gary and I made a trip while she was in the hospital. We did not know she was in the hospital. Somehow that communication hadn't got to us. We had decided that we would make a trip and see some of our elderly relatives. And Uncle Les and Aunt Carmen were on the list, and we had never been to Sept. And we made the trip, and we found out she was in hospital. So we spent some very precious time with her in the hospital. I remember at one point she said, oh, if I knew I'd be in here this long, I would have had my hair permed. I was like, yeah, Carmen, you look beautiful anyway. You know? And we had such great conversation. And I'm not sure we knew that would be the last time we saw her. But we are so happy we made that trip. And we are so happy we got to embrace her one more time. So that's the sharing I wanted to give to it.
Thank you.
Who's next? All right. I didn't want to have to do this, but I heard twice, strong personality, a great sense of humor. Okay, mine's dental related. So I met Carmen years ago, and we did our dental thing, and that's really the only way I really knew her, from that environment. And no matter how well I tried to do my best, one day I was late. And I came into the room and she was sitting there, "You're late!" And I went, I know, something big came up and I had to deal with it, and it's like we do our, "You're late!" And it was just really a tough thing to do the rest of the appointment, like feeling so bad, but I did it. And every time she'd come back in the future, I would see her name on the list and I'd say, "Oh my God, we gotta be on time, we gotta be on time." And even if I was a minute late, "You're late." But how I knew it was just joking, and just her sense of humor, is that one day when I came in super early, she said, "You're late." So she was great, and I'm sorry she's gone, and that's just my little story.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Don't be shy. I want to be like Carmen when I grow up. A force, keeping people on their toes and on schedule, I'm okay with that. Kind of going back to their story here. After that blind date that Les and Carmen went on all those years ago in Edmonton on Carmen's birthday, and their subsequent marriage, life brought them to White Rock and then to Langley, and eventually out on an adventure to find their forever home. And Carmen, when she knew that her time was coming, brave, strong woman that she was, she decided to write her own obituary. And I borrowed a little something from that today, because what she said was that when they came to Seashell, the peace, the stillness, and the beauty told our hearts this was it. And after almost 22 beautiful years here in Seashell, it was time for her spirit to move on to the next big thing. And in Carmen's honor and in her spirit, I hope that we all can connect a little more with our God or our big life or our universe, whatever you want to call it. In doing so, if doing so could bring Carmen the man of her dreams and that front row spot at West Edmonton Mall, then just imagine the possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. Please stay. There's drinks and refreshments. Washrooms are just down the hallway here around the back. Stay and chat and honor Carmen in whatever way you can. She was a beautiful woman, a beautiful spirit, and I'm really glad that you're all here today. Thank you.
It's always not just getting your hair done, it's always a nice visit too.
So I